and main false gods of Egypt. So what God begins to teach them is that, hey, I'm a God above other gods. And then when he brings them out further, he starts teaching them things, and you'll see this in the commandments and all this. You know, hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, there is one God. You shall have no idols. There shall be nothing else before the Lord your God. He's teaching them that there's going to be one God, that he's going to be their God. He's getting this polytheistic mentality, the worship of many gods, out of them. And of course, we saw that there was a mixed multitude. So you think about, here comes these people, been abused, dominated, illiterate, pagan, idol worshipers, worship many gods. But then not only that, they come out, here's all these mixed multitude, as the Bible says, different ideas, different cultures, different social structures. Do you see how difficult God's job is here? Because here's what he's trying to do. And how do you do this? How do you take this factioned, mixed multitude of slaves and people that just saw themselves in the most terrible way? How do you take these people and bring them out into the wilderness? Not a big, nice, plush city. Bring them out into the wilderness and make them not only a nation, but a family. And make them not only a family, but a cohesive fighting force. How many of you know God had his work cut out for him? And can I tell you this? If God was able to take that throng of a mixed multitude with all their factions and craziness and bring them out into the wilderness and make them a cohesive fighting force, God can do the same thing for your family. And that's what we have in our culture today. We have too many families. They're not a cohesive fighting force. They're just kind of the people that are related. There's factions, everybody doing their own thing. They don't see themselves as a cohesive fighting force with identity and purpose. And so instead of it being fam versus wild, it's actually fam versus fam. And maybe some of you came out of some of those families. It wasn't, fam versus wild and us trying to prevail in very uncertain and wild times, so to speak, but it was fam versus fam. Jesus says a house divided against itself cannot stand. Right. And the first thing that you have to understand is that God has called you, you and your family, to be a cohesive fighting force. And if you will say yes to that, you will not only survive in wild times, but you will thrive in wild times, and you will see your family be blessed and be everything that God's called it to be. Come on, can you give God a hand for that? So think about this. Okay, so how is God going to do this? How in the world is he going to take all this craziness? I mean, he's taking wild people and bringing them into the wild. It's wildness all around. How is he going to do this? How is he going to make these people have any type of cohesive fighting force? God does something, and he offers to Israel a vehicle that was very common in that day. This is why at Celebration Church we believe in relevance. Relevance is pertaining to the issues at hand. We believe that the church should be relevant, that the church should pertain and be relevant to the issues that you deal with in your everyday life. So what God does, he offers something that was very relevant back in this day, and that is a covenant. Okay? This idea, a lot of people think that covenant originated with God right here in Mount Sinai. It didn't. Covenant had been going on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and even more than 1,000 years by the time we see this episode here at Mount Sinai. And basically what a covenant was, think about this. Back in the day here, everything was done through the context of family. Okay, everything that was tribal, everything was done through the context of family. And so what a covenant was a way for families or tribes or eventually nations. It became the most popular political language around in that day. What nations would do, see, family, everything was processed through the context of family. When you were family, you got the greatest loyalty. And so what these nations would do is they would come and they would say, hey, let's cut a covenant. Even though we're not family technically, we can cut a covenant And we can come into a relationship where we act like family, even though technically we're not related. Why? Because family brought the greatest loyalty. So what you would see is, you would see nations coming into covenant with each other. Usually there would be a stronger one and there would be a weaker one. And usually how it would look is, the stronger one would come to the weaker one, and the stronger one would say, hey, look, we like you guys, let's do this. Let's cut a covenant. Let's have the loyalty and faithfulness to one another just like a family would. Let's cut a covenant, and so here's the deal. You let us trade in your land, and if we go fight, you come fight with us and all that kind of stuff. Let's be one together. And then if any other powerful nation comes and tries to invade you, even though that you're smaller, we will come in, we will protect you, we will provide for you. Do you see how it works? It would produce loyalty and faithfulness between two nations, and what they would always offer when they cut a covenant was a blood sacrifice. What's the principle of blood? When you're family, you're blood. So they would cut a blood sacrifice, and they would do something like this. They would cut a sacrifice, and you can read about this, the language in ancient covenants. They'd cut a sacrifice, and so let's say they had an ox. They'd cut the shoulder off the ox, and they would say something like, so let this shoulder that I just cut off, let it be my shoulder if I don't fulfill and perform the promises of this covenant. And so they would kill this animal, and they basically said, hey, so let it, just like we killed this animal, so let it be to us if we don't fulfill the promises of this covenant and remain loyal to one another. And so here's God bringing Israel into the wilderness, and when God comes and he says, look, I want to cut a covenant with you. I'll be your God. I'll protect you. I'll provide for you. You be my people. You be faithful to me. Have no other gods before you. When God offers Israel covenant, I mean, it like blows their mind. And it does a couple of things. First of all, when God says, Israel, I'm offering you a covenant, for the first time, they saw themselves as a nation. This is what nations do. This is the political language we've seen Egypt use with other, but not only is God saying that we're a nation, God himself, he's not a nation, he's a person, he's God. So by God wanting a covenant with us, he's saying that we're not only a nation, but we're also a family. We're a family. And then God begins to unpack and he says, look, I'll be your God, you be my people, and I'll provide for you and I'll bless you and you be faithful to me. You get rid of all these other gods. You be loyal to me. I love you. I'm going to make you a special treasure. I'm going to make you unique over all the other families in the world. If you will allow me to be your God. And this must have blown Israel's mind. And here's what God is saying to you today. Listen, if you will allow God to be your God, and if you will be God's family, can I tell you this? In the wilderness that we live in, God will teach you not just how to survive, but he will teach you how to thrive. And this is what God begins to lay out to Israel. He says, look, you let me be your God, you be my people, you be my family. And I will teach you how not only to survive in the wilderness, but to thrive. And you better get ready because you're out in the wilderness and everybody's going to be out to get you. How many of you feel like that? It's like, man, this world, it's like everything is out to destroy the family. And God's saying everyone's going to be out to get you. You're going to have the Perizzites and the Amorites and the Canaanites, and they're all going to be coming with bites, and they're going to bite your behind. Like those bugs in the jungle. He's saying this, but look, let me be your God, you be my family, and I will teach you not just how to survive, I'll teach you how to thrive, and I'll bring you into this place of promise that they called the Promised Land. The Promised Land represented the place of more than enough. God's saying, look, I'll bring you out of the wild and into this place where you'll have more than enough. And isn't that what we're constantly saying to ourselves in our current culture? I mean, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time for my family. I don't have enough organization in my life. I don't do enough for my kids. I don't do enough for my wife. We don't have enough money. How do I juggle this? Both husband and wife both work, and it's not just a 40-hour work week anymore. It's a 60-hour work week, and lines are all blurred. And how do I get involved in my kids' school? And then I have 3 kids, and each one of them have 3 activities. And how do I juggle all that? How do I stay involved? And then I'm constant. I mean, you got the computers and the Facebook and the texting. And how do I stay on top of all of that and the internet and the website and where you going and who you talking to, what you doing? I'm going crazy. I don't have enough, God. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough wisdom. I don't have enough people helping me, watching everything. God, I don't have enough. You know what God's saying? You be my family. I'll be your God. I'm going to bring you into a place of more than enough. You'll have more than enough time. You'll do more than enough with your kids. You'll have more than enough in your marriage. Man, come on, you won't just have 1 toilet. God will give you 4 toilets. Can you thank God we serve a 4-toilet God? But here's what we do. Here's what we do as people. Here's what we say. Oh, Stovall, that sounds so great. Okay, so great. Here I am. Here's me. Here's my wife. I'm not having my kids. I'm not having my wife. I'm not having my kids. I'm not having my wife. I'm bringing them out now. Don't hide your kids. Don't hide your wife. We're ready. We're ready. Okay, we're going to be God's family. We're ready. Okay, let's go. Stovall, wave your magic preacher hand over my family. Make all the bad things disappear. Make all the good things happen. And let us go dancing and prancing in the dandelions. Remember when God brought Israel out? See, Israel, they had become so messed up by the culture. When God begins to bring them out and He's taken them to this promised land, He begins to speak to them and He begins to say, look, you're not slaves. Let me tell you something about yourself. You're the head, you're not the tail. You're above and you're not beneath. You need to be strong. You're not weak. You need to be strong. You need to be very courageous. You're not going to be illiterate anymore. In fact, you're going to be known as the wisest people in all the earth. I'm going to take you. I'm going to make you my special treasure. You're going to be the apple of my eye. What is God doing? Israel had become sick, so to speak. They had gotten dysentery from the culture, so to speak. And God's leading them to a place of promise. But as He's doing that, God understands it's going to take time. He's bringing this throng of mixed multitudes. You know, everyone has a different idea about life, hurt, damaged, abused. He's taking these people and He's training them. And the first thing He's doing is letting them know how much He loves them.